Hey everybody, welcome to Hit or Miss Monday. Today we're going to talk about this China-made Cyclone. In a previous video I made a Cyclone card. If you haven't seen it yet, please check that out. So what do we have here? As I just stated, it's a Cyclone collector straight from China. It's very similar at least in general design. I mean, a Cyclone is a Cyclone regardless of who makes it. They're all so similar in the way they work. However, this one's probably the closest looking to a Oneida Desk Deputy. However, it's not 100% exact, so it's not a full China knockoff, but very close. Some of the similarities I had noticed, which when I was doing my research, I guess I should back up. First question most people are going to ask is, why didn't you just get an Oneida Desk Deputy? Well, simply it was the cost. Being on an extreme budget, or no budget as I like to put it, a $50 Oneida, I could have done it. However, I knew I was going to need other parts to make this cart, and there just really wasn't enough money to go for the extra items I was going to need. So I started doing some research. Mainly I was actually looking for maybe coupons or places that sold the Oneida at a cheaper price. And then I stumbled across I was on eBay, and I found two different styles of these Cyclone collectors. This one you see here, and another one that it's similar at least in functionality and general design, but the way it mounts is totally different. You really can't confuse the two. It's either this style or one totally different. It's the only two I've seen available. And this one also resembles the Oneida Desk Deputy, the closest. Basically on its flanging system down here on the bottom. Has similar to Oneida, even with these gussets that are on the side. So I felt that this would be the sturdier alternative, since I am quite leery of China-made products. I have had a lot of experience with them, and they don't generally live up to expectations. So, for instance, when I bought this one, it only had 4 mounting holes down here on the bottom, and I just felt like that wouldn't be sufficient, so I did have to drill 4 additional holes. So in any case, I ordered it, and the biggest reason why I did, back again, was the cost. This is literally like a third. I paid less than $15. It was literally just under $15, and that was no tax and free shipping. So, you add up the $50 for the Oneida, and whether you pay for shipping and tax, or if I drove up to Woodcraft, which is about an hour and a half from here, then you figure in your gas. So this seemed like a pretty good, worthwhile alternative. And at $15, if it doesn't work, I'm not going to be as upset if I end up having to throw it in the trash. So let's get on to the whole point of hit or miss. Is it a hit or is it a miss? So first, let's go into some additional features, or pros and cons, I should put it. Well, as I stated, the mount, this flange is not as substantial as I would like it to be. And if you look at pictures of an Oneida, it is. These gussets are pretty weak right here. There's not much there. So if anything's going to break, that's where I expect it to crack first. So by adding the additional mounting points, that seems to help a little bit. And the other thing I didn't do that I see a majority of people do when they make these is they make a wooden base that this sits on top of, or even you take a piece of wood and just bolt it to the bottom. And on purpose I did not do that, simply because with this thing I feel is not going to be as sturdy as an Oneida, that I want this to have a little bit more ability to flex. If I make this too rigid, this top, it's probably going to crack something. And we'll just see over time if this works out, because I'm noticing this lid is kind of bowing a little bit, so I may have to put some sort of a ring, just not the full width, so there's still a little bit of flexing. And the only other thing I noticed that really is what separates this from being a direct copy, other than the diameter of these intake ports, intake output, is, probably can't really tell from in here, but if you look inside, see, most Cyclones, when you make this tube, you actually enter into the chamber, and I think that makes for a more efficient cyclonic effect. And the only drawback I've ever noticed with this design, because it's literally just flush mounted right here, you know, inside. There's no extending past the inside of the Cyclone. Is, which I find kind of interesting, is that the fine debris, you know, the fine dust, and everything else, it cyclones and it goes right down as it should. But then chunks of wood, or you know, big pieces of stuff, usually just, you know, chunks of wood, will enter in this chamber and they just spin and spin and spin. And it's not such a big deal, but it is kind of annoying because you'll hear it and you hear this rattling and rattling until you either stop the vacuum, or sometimes what I do is I put my hand over the end of the hose to kind of force a stop a little bit, but that's not really good to do to the motor of your vacuum. So with that, all that set aside, the pros just far outweigh the cons. It works as expected or as hoped in some cases when you're buying something from China. And I have really no complaints so far. It has picked up. As you can see, this is about half full, this bucket. I mean, you can see how full of wonderful fine dust it has. The vacuum cleaner is still clean. And I mean, it is such a hit. I would say a grand slam. I'd say it's more of a home run. I'm actually planning on purchasing another one of these to make for another upcoming project, but I may have a dedicated setup with the bandsaw, since it seems to be that and my 12-inch disc sander kick up the most dust. So again, final word is that this is definitely a hit, and I highly recommend if you're looking for a very cheap alternative, or you just need a quick and easy one, whatever your reason might be, but you don't want to get the full-on Oneida or any of the others that are out there. Clearview has a pretty awesome small one that I'm even interested in the future. Then I would say this is definitely a hit, and we'll see. Eventually, I hope to do a comparison to another brand, but the way this works so good, I don't see any reason why I need to get a Oneida or any other brand. Just keep buying these, they're so cheap. So until next time, take care.